And so I'm throwing my lightning talk in here. Thanks to Chris for seceding some of your time. Okay, so you guys already know who I am. One of my other favorite things in the Ex Libris world is usually I can find some way to update text or a label if I don't like it, or if we find it confusing, or if we want to add more information to help our patrons. So I'm going to talk a few quick ideas. You know, I covered some of the stuff on the letter thing earlier, but I'm actually going to talk about like how to find the labels that you want to change. So 3 places that you might find labels in relation to resource sharing. There are some other places you can update text and labels across the Ex Libris products, but these are the ones that you're going to see the most. So the first one is discovery labels, which is anything that shows to patrons in Primo displays. That includes most Rapido things that show inside Primo, also includes things like my requests in my library. So like in this screenshot, there's all kinds of words on here and things that you can change. There is also note to patron, which is text that shows on your Rapido request forms, and labels in Alma letters. So for my first example, let's say I want to make changes to the default text and labels that show on the blue Rapido boxes in Primo, and the patron can make a request. So you can see in my screenshot here that I've made a lot of changes already to the Ex Libris default blue boxes, but it's been a while and I might not remember where to make the changes. So for this test, I just said I'm interested in changing the text of need a book chapter to need a book chapter now. But I thought that was kind of a crazy idea when I put this together. And then Tony yesterday in his presentation was like, people said 15 seconds wasn't fast enough. So maybe this is something that you actually want to do. So the place that you're going to find these, most of your labels, is in discovery, display configuration, labels. And much like with the letters, when you go to this part of Alma, it can be kind of intimidating. There are 89 different code tables, and they have many entries in each table. So to find the label that you want to change, you can search by code if you know the code, but description is the thing that's the actual text that shows up on Primo, things like that. And so you'll want to search on description. So we're looking for the text, need a book chapter. So we're going to search that across those 89 tables. And luckily, it only had one result. It's only in one table, and it's in the Rapido labels table. It isn't always going to be in the Rapido labels table. You'll see things in my library record and things like that. There's a lot of other tables it might be in. But this tells me in this result, it's in one table. So then I just have to go to that table. And I can either do view or edit, depending on what roles I have. And unfortunately, once you get in there, you just have to search it again. And so I'm inside of Rapido labels, and it actually gave me 2 results. So I have to figure out which one of those is the one that I want to update. So I made an educated guess here that it was going to be this, this second one. You just edit the text in the description. And so I said, well, let me go ahead and try this one and see if that's going to change it, if that's going to work. And you do want to be careful with this. Don't go in and change all of them, because it might be in some other place that you don't want to change it to now. So you'll want to test this to make sure it's the right place. So I just go in and change description. And then all you have to do is, if you have the page up already with this, and if you just refresh it, it's immediate and it just changes it there. So when I was testing this, I said, oh, okay, I did that in the right place. But you want to make sure you don't change a whole bunch of labels and you go, I don't know, that changed that somewhere. But you can see this immediately. And then you can play around with the text and change it the way that you want. You may have seen one of the top vote getters in the recent Primo enhancement voting cycle was to allow HTML in labels. Plenty of them actually already have this. So it's kind of trial and error to find which ones will work. You can always open a Salesforce case as well and say, does this one support HTML? Here's an example of this inside the table, and then I'm going to show this a little more close up. But if you are looking through to see, did someone actually put HTML in any of mine? If you see something that looks like this, then they did. So the code ends up looking like this that you can put in there instead of just words. You can put paragraphs in, you can put links, you can put colors. And then instead of that regular message that it has when somebody submits something, we've got request has been submitted and all of this. And the ladies here at Northridge helped me come up with exactly what they wanted to have here. And it just really saving time for people, you know, that link goes right to their library account instead of saying, go to your library account, like they can actually click on it. So Priscilla had asked earlier, like, well, where are these things? So here's my pro tip on this. Inspect in the web browser if you're trying to find the code for the label. So in most web browsers, there's a little bit like, I was like, well, where is this? And in Firefox, if you do something called like inspect, I'm not sure what it is on other browsers. And then you'd find, you'll see this on the slides, but it's a tiny little thing that has some code here, but it has a code in it that looks like this, which is what we saw on the table earlier. And so if you're just not sure where to get started, and then you go, oh, okay, I think that because when you look at this up close, it has that code and then it has the text. We were just looking at the need a book chapter. So this is something, if you're having trouble figuring out where to fix it, you can try that. Okay, so that's discovery labels. The note to patron, I think a lot of people have set up already. This is outside of the discovery labels. And so this is in the resource sharing admin area, note to patron, and there's one for digital and one for physical. And that just ends up looking like this. You can also put HTML in here. You can put coloring, you can put formatting. We've got our copyright statement in here. So you just update this content field. And then that's what shows at the top of your form. And so we've got like very specific stuff about like call us and email us and, you know, mail to links and things like that. Just trying to make it easier for everyone. So we have one for the digital, and then there's one for the physical request. So you can have different things for those. And then I want to come back to the letter labels that I talked about earlier today. As I said, each of the letters has a label area. And in this case, I don't know why all the sincerely's and the ex libris stuff don't have a comma on them, but it really bothers me. And so this is one that you could fix like on Monday when you go back. So you just have to go through, you look at the preview and you go, hey, that's something I want to fix. You search in the label area, it's sincerely. And I can see in this example, no one's ever changed it because so it's the ex libris default because it's all gray. And then you just customize. You change the text in there, you put a comma in, you save it, and then immediately it shows up and it's fixed. So unfortunately, you have to do this on each letter that has that sincerely in there, but it's a nice project, and then you can go and you can clean up things like that. And then you'll also be able to see if anyone's changed it, and when they did, that's my Alma ID. I changed earlier this week. If you want to go back to what the ex libris default was, you don't have to remember. There is a restore. It doesn't restore all the labels. It just restores that label if you wanted to go back to that. If you are still stumped, ask your colleagues. We've talked a lot about communication here in the last couple days. I am also very excited about labels. So if you're having trouble finding a label, ask on Slack or Teams or whatever works for you on the listservs. I see people ask that sometimes. And we did find out yesterday in communication that a lot of folks can't open Salesforce cases, but if you can, I open up a lot of Salesforce cases on where do I change this label because I can't find it. And sometimes they say, yeah, that's hard coded, you can't do it. And sometimes they go, oh, we'll change it for you. And they do something internally. And then sometimes they go, oh, that's a good idea. We should make a new field for that. And so you can impact the product that way. But as I found out, not everyone has access to doing Salesforce cases. Feel free to contact me. I will open up a case and put it in the change text. Chris also has some pages on labels on the UMS wiki that have a lot of details on what other CSUs have changed in their sites. It's got some of my stuff on there and some other folks. And so if you want to make your labels more friendly, more understanding. And that's it. That's my lightning.
So excited about your presentation. All right.
I don't want to cut into any more of Chris's time. While Chris is getting dressed, please take cookies and chips. It's for less stuff that we have to put away. So please take stuff with you.
It is on the recording. That's hilarious.
All right. Gonna make it